Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Today's video is going to be absolutely insane, so stick with me. First thing we should do is wish Ukraine a happy Independence Day, August 24th. Did the Russians decide to get anything for Ukraine for their Independence Day? And why yes, they did. Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin dead after plane crash in Russia. Unconfirmed reports suggest the plane may have been shot down by a Russian air defense missile. So online, there's going to be lots of conspiracy theories, given that Russia's internal investigation will be completely bogus. These conspiracy theories will persist. Let's go through the main options. 1, the plane was shot down by a Russian air defense system, either accidentally or deliberately. 2, there were explosives planted on board to kill Prigozhin. 3, there was a technical malfunction in the plane or piloting error. Who actually wanted Prigozhin dead? Putin, Ukrainians, the Poles, the United States, Great Britain. This man had many enemies. But we don't need to make this any more complicated than it needs to be. Occam's razor, the fewer assumptions you make, the more simple the explanation, probably is the truth. Yevgeny Prigozhin led an armed rebellion 2 months ago in which he shot down Russian planes and killed Russian pilots. He was a direct threat to Putin's regime, and Putin wanted him dead. So yes, Putin shot down the plane with a Russian air defense missile. We do have video footage of the plane falling out of the sky. One of the wings had already been blown off, and the plane just spiraled to the ground. I'll link these videos down below if you want to check them out. There's also an eyewitness video after the crash, in which there's evidence on the fuselage and remaining wing of an air defense missile striking the plane. This plane was operating perfectly fine until something hit it, and it fell out of the sky. So no, I don't argue that this was technical malfunctions or a piloting error. And Russia has confirmed the manifest of who was on board. It was 3 crew members, pilot, co-pilot, and flight attendants, and then 7 Wagner bad guys. Amongst them, their 3 top commanders. We are familiar with Yevgeny Prigozhin and Dmitry Utkin. These are the number 1 and number 2, but Wagner's internal chief of security was also on the plane. Now at this time, the Russians are saying they've only recovered 8 bodies at the crash site. This plane fell pretty far out of the sky, so it's possible 2 of the bodies were ejected and will be found later. Now the bodies found were burned pretty badly, so DNA testing is going to be required to identify who is who. But good job, Russia. You finally successfully killed a Nazi. After a year and a half of trying to denazify Ukraine, you got Dmitry Utkin. For those not familiar with Dmitry Utkin, he's the original founder of the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is called the Wagner Group because Dmitry Utkin's call sign in the Russian military was Wagner, because the guy is covered in Nazi tattoos. Wagner was Hitler's favorite composer. This was the number 2 guy behind Yevgeny Prigozhin in the Wagner Group. So there's no love lost at the elimination of this guy. I'm glad to see that Russia finally did something about their Nazi problem. But it is astonishing to me that these 2 idiots got on the same plane. Why, after leading a failed rebellion, would Yevgeny Prigozhin and Dmitry Utkin, the number 1 and the number 2, get on the same plane and fly over Russian airspace? And the reason why is these guys thought they were untouchable. Russian military blogger explains, Yevgeny Prigozhin was absolutely sure of his safety. he was on his way to negotiate about Africa with really good, in his opinion, options and scenarios. He believed that the kind of breakthrough he was proposing was 100 times greater than the damage caused by the mutiny. So all of these Wagner leaders were on the same plane to go to the Kremlin to pitch their future operations for Russia's colonial aspirations on the African continent. Wagner has been operating in Africa for over a decade, stealing the wealth and resources of the continent, diamond mines, gold mines, uranium deposits, and Prigozhin and Utkin thought they could make up for their failed rebellion 2 months ago. Perhaps they were going to offer Putin and the Kremlin a larger percentage of their operations. If you remember, Yevgeny Prigozhin is an oligarch. This guy is a billionaire. When they raided his mansion in St. Petersburg, they found over 100 million US dollars in cash, bricks of cash just laying around his house. This guy's couch cushion spare change was over $100 million. So yes, Dmitry Utkin and Prigozhin were billionaires, successfully having robbed the wealth of the African continent, and they thought that they could just pay off Putin to be forgiven for their failed rebellion 2 months ago. Now the Gray Zone, which is a Wagner-linked Telegram channel, they don't think this was an accident. They state that Prigozhin is dead as the result of actions committed by traitors to Russia. So who are these traitors to Russia? And there are lots of Wagner mercenaries putting out statements and videos right now saying that Putin and Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu are the true traitors to Russia, and they are going to get their revenge on them. I wish these guys luck, but I'm not feeling too optimistic about their chances, given their top 3 commanders have all been killed in a single strike, and all of their military resource supplies have been cut off from the Kremlin. Now, mass media close to Prigozhin is reporting that in the event of Prigozhin's death, PMC Wagner has already developed an action plan which will be launched immediately. What the heck is that going to be? I think we're all going to find out this weekend. So what about Lukashenko? Lukashenko guaranteed Prigozhin's security 2 months ago as part of the deal for Prigozhin to stand down. But if you're going to accept exile in Belarus to stand down your rebellion, you kind of need to stay in Belarus. So it's very bizarre that Prigozhin and Utkin thought they were fine. I remember that Prigozhin attended that African summit in St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago. The guy was conducting business and operations as normal, flying around Russia on private jets thinking he was perfectly safe. So I actually don't blame Lukashenko, but I do think Lukashenko was in on it. I think the people of Belarus did not like having all of these Wagner convicts camping outside of their major cities. It is being reported that Belarusian authorities have cut off the internet to the Wagner camp group to stop their ability to react to this incident and organize some kind of retaliation. So I think these Wagner camps in Belarus are probably going to disband and disappear in the coming weeks. So we're all waiting for it. We're all waiting for what is the response from Prigozhin from beyond the grave. This weekend, potentially, there could be a dump of documents or even a confession or a video of Prigozhin. It'll probably start something like this. I'm Yevgeny Prigozhin, and if you're watching this video, it means I'm already dead. Now I'm going to tell you all what really happened. Prigozhin knows everything. He was Putin's personal chef in the Kremlin. Putin is the one who handpicked him to empower him with the Wagner Group, to handle all of the overseas operations. That's basically what Wagner was, the overseas colonial expeditionary force of the Russian military. So Prigozhin knew things, and if he was smart, yeah, he recorded some videos, and someone somewhere with a hard drive probably is going to dump this information in the next 48 hours. So how is Kremlin State TV responding to all of this chaos? And Solovyov posted on Telegram, "Colleagues, I keep silent intentionally, and I advise you to do the same. Silence is worth more than gold right now." So what the heck is Solovyov talking about on his broadcast? Let's check in with his top story yesterday.
Теперь эти подонки немецкие, это нацистская мразь, вдруг заявляет: а мы, кстати, российских клиентов обслуживать не будем, мы их всех отключаем. Не власть, народ! Мерседес, БМВ, Ауди, Volkswagen объявляют своими врагами русский народ!
So Solovyov on his broadcast for the third day in a row, the story he cares about the most is that Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, and Volkswagen will stop providing software updates for their luxury import cars. Solovyov truly is a man of the common people who understands the real concerns of ordinary Russians, such as why won't my luxury import vehicle get software updates? But in all seriousness, there are millions of Russians around the world mourning the loss of Yevgeny and Prigozhin. Prigozhin spent the last year and a half carefully crafting this cult of personality. He convinced millions of people that he was the savior of Russia, that he was the real alternative to Putin for the Russian people going forward. So let me just share with you some of these reactions of people that believed in Prigozhin. I don't think I can play the music, but this is a live stream of a Wagner military blogger. He's got his flag on the wall and his Z with the skull over it. The guy had a live stream in reaction to the news and couldn't complete it. He was so distraught over the death of Prigozhin. Likewise, around Russia, there are makeshift memorials popping up everywhere with Wagner soldiers and Wagner veterans paying their last respects to Yevgeny and Prigozhin. Poor guy doesn't know where his next paycheck is going to come from. If you believe in something and you have an ideology, then you're not a mercenary. Mercenaries kill and fight for money. That should be the only thing they care about. Oh, Russia. And for Russian simps living in the West who love Putin and love Russia, people like Jackson Hinkle, this is what they were saying 2 months ago on June 25th. Wagner is now stationed within 100 kilometers of Kyiv. Putin knew Prigozhin was planning something 48 hours in advance but didn't stop him. Putin used Prigozhin's fake rebellion as an opportunity to weed out disloyal figures. The negotiation was announced 1 hour after Ukraine restarted their counteroffensive. Still think it was a coup. So 2 months ago, for the people living in denial that support Russia, they thought Prigozhin's rebellion was fake. It was all staged. Putin was in on it and had given Prigozhin the go-ahead to do it for bizarre reasons. But for 2 months, people have been repeating this nonsense that the Wagner group wanted to relocate to Belarus to attack Kyiv from the north or attack Poland. That was always an insane idea that I never entertained, but for people who support Russia, they don't want to talk about Prigozhin because they can't explain it. They can't explain any of this because it doesn't fit their narrative that Russia is the good guys in this war. But for everyone else in the civilized and democratic world, we can't get enough of this. I hope the regular Russian military and the Wagnerites continue killing each other. Here's some memes I want to share with you online. Everything in Russia is on fire and everyone else in Europe has their popcorn ready. Here's the joke. Russian air defense forces finally hit a target near Moscow. It was a civilian aircraft, but they got it. Inside you are 2 Panzer air defense systems. One of them doesn't work, and the other one kills Prigozhin. Here's a good one. Next time you board a plane, take a moment to glance at the people to your left and right, and make sure they didn't launch a failed coup against Putin. That's some solid advice. This guy right here says, damn, I had $50 on DraftKings that Prigozhin was going to be poisoned. So I'm sure people in Las Vegas were betting on how Prigozhin would die. Technically, can you say he fell out a window when it's the window of an airplane? This is the debate that people are currently having online. So let's now get to the other incredible stories that happened over the last 2 days. Russian helicopter pilot defects to Ukraine, an astonishing saga worthy of Hollywood. It now seems that earlier reports that the crew of a Russian Mi-8 helicopter became lost and landed at a Ukrainian airfield by mistake concealed a far more surprising narrative. I'll link this article down below. This story is insane. But basically what happened is there's a Russian helicopter pilot that wanted to defect to Ukraine and wanted to steal the helicopter to get the bounty for it. If you remember, the Ukrainian military has stated any Russian soldier that defects with equipment will be compensated for that equipment. So this Russian pilot was supposed to be transporting spare parts for a Russian Su-27 and Su-30 multi-role fighter between 2 Russian air bases, a task which enabled the pilot to camouflage the duration of the flight. So what this pilot did was fly real low, went radio silent, and then flew the helicopter to a Ukrainian air base to surrender it. The Ukrainians were expecting it. They were waiting for him. He had approved and pre-planned this. But the other 2 Russians on board the helicopter didn't know what he was planning. When he landed at the airfield, he successfully surrendered. The other 2 Russian soldiers didn't surrender, and they had to be eliminated. And this Russian helicopter pilot also coordinated his family to escape Russia at the same time. So this guy successfully got out. He got his wife and kids out. He's going to get $500,000 in cash, and Ukraine is going to get a perfectly functioning Mi-8 helicopter. Wow, Russia. What else? Ukraine says they've destroyed a Russian missile defense system in Crimea. Ukrainian forces have destroyed a Russian S-400 missile defense system in Crimea. And they released the video. I'll link it down below if you want to see it go boom. Ukraine with a Storm Shadow missile successfully got a launcher and a radar installation. So that's a pretty good strike for a Storm Shadow. This is Russia's most capable and best air defense system, protecting Crimea. All of these have to be destroyed before Ukraine can start successfully bombing the port city of Sevastopol. What else? Drone crashes into building in central Moscow. It's astonishing to me. This is not my lead story. I'm burying it as story number 3 or 4. But Moscow was hit by drones for the 6th straight night, and the airports have to close every time one of these drones are in the sky. The Kremlin said one drone had been suppressed by air defenses, yet it still managed to hit a building in the capital's central business district. So there's a video. I'll link it down below if you want to see downtown Moscow get struck with a kamikaze drone again. Russia can stop this at any time. All they have to do is go back to their own country and stay there. So just to recap, for the last 2 days, Prigozhin and Utkin killed by their own forces, Ukraine blew up an S-400 battery in Crimea, a Russian pilot and his Mi-8 defected to Ukraine, and at least one Ukrainian drone struck central Moscow. Not a bad Independence Day for Ukraine. What else? Putin sacks Aerospace Forces General Surovikin. This is General Surovikin, General Armageddon, the butcher of Syria. When this guy was put in charge of the entire war last September or October, everyone thought he was going to turn this war around for Russia. That was almost a year ago, and he was implicated in Prigozhin's coup and disappeared 2 months ago. He's currently under house arrest, and Putin is just waiting for people to forget about him. Officially, he has been replaced, but he's probably going to be poisoned or killed in the coming months, once again, after people in Russia forget he was ever a thing. So what a difference the last 3 months make. Utkin and Prigozhin are now dead. Surovikin and Gherkin are under arrest, probably going to die for health complications over the coming months. Russia's special military operation is going pretty well. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention, the village of Urbatna was officially liberated. Ukrainian forces, I think, now control the entire village. Russia has lost again. Here's the video of Ukrainian forces raising a Ukrainian flag over the center of the village. They did this yesterday, as yesterday was Ukraine's Flag Day. Everything was destroyed. It's all going to have to be rebuilt, but it can't be rebuilt until the Russian occupiers are expelled. There was also a BRICS summit. Not really important news. Putin couldn't attend because he's an internationally wanted war criminal. I like this Photoshop better. That's probably about what his actual height is. Final couple feel-good clips. The first one is Ukrainian soldiers raiding a Russian trench, and they found a stack of rubles. They decided to divide it amongst themselves as extra toilet paper rations.
Ну то давай мені зарплата прийшла. Зарплата прийшла, пацана. Що, ти вже маєш? А у тебе сотка є? Є. Це так мало. Що, зарплата? Та сотка. 100 тисяч, блядь. Що тобі надо як командир 150, блядь, за це. Хто хоче срати? 150. Ще є.
Honestly, this paper could be collector's items. The Russian ruble might not exist in 5 years. Final clip I have for you is from Klitschko. He's just meeting with some soldiers and they're singing a song. Sounds a little bit like when the Saints go marching in. That's all for this update video. It was crazy. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.